Here's the thing. You didn't choose them by accident. It didn't just happen. And no, it's not because you're weak. It's because somewhere in your life, love and pain were introduced to you at the same time. And your nervous system never learned the difference. So now, every time someone feels familiar, every time someone feels emotionally intense, every time someone makes you work for their attention, something inside you leans in. Not because it feels good, but because it feels known, familiar. Because familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar peace. And this is where most people misunderstand themselves, including myself. I have been in over 40 toxic dates and several relationships. So I have learned the hard way that we are not attracting toxic love because we want to suffer. We are attracting toxic love because our brains are wired to recognize emotional patterns that feel like home. The craziest thing is, even when home was the place that hurt us. The first reason you keep attracting toxic love is because emotional unavailability feels normal to you. If you grew up feeling unseen, unheard, emotionally dismissed, or like you had to earn love instead of receiving it freely, then consistent, healthy love doesn't feel natural. It feels suspicious. It feels uncomfortable. It feels boring. Because it is boring, but because your nervous system was trained in chaos. You learn to read emotional distance. You learn to chase emotional closeness. You learn to overgive, overexplain, and overstay. Because at some point in your life, love was not something you rested in. It was something you fought for. And now, when someone gives you the chance to fight for it again, your body recognizes the pattern and calls it love. The second reason is that you were taught to abandon yourself. This is the part that hurts the most to realize. You learn to ignore your discomfort. You learn to stay quiet when something felt wrong. You learn to tolerate behavior that hurt you because your survival depended on maintaining connection, not on protecting yourself. So now, when someone crosses your boundaries, disrespects you, withdraws from you, or makes you feel small, you don't immediately leave. You adjust yourself instead. You explain it away, you minimize it, you try harder. Because somewhere deep inside, you learn that losing them feels more dangerous than losing yourself, even when it isn't. The third reason is that toxic people recognize emotional safety in you. Not because you're weak, but because you are empathetic. You are patient. You are understanding. You see potential in people. You see their pain. You see their wounds. And instead of protecting yourself, you try to love them through it. You try to be the person no one was for them. But toxic people don't interpret empathy as love. They interpret it as access. Access to your time, your energy, your forgiveness, your tolerance. And the more you tolerate, the more they take. Not because you deserve it, but because you never learned that you are allowed to leave. The fourth reason is that healthy love feels unfamiliar. Healthy love is calm, consistent, clear. It doesn't confuse you. It doesn't disappear and reappear. It doesn't make you question your worth. But when you've spent your life in emotional unpredictability, calm feels wrong. It feels like something is missing. It feels like there is no emotional intensity, no emotional chase, no emotional high. Because your nervous system became addicted to emotional volatility. Not because you wanted to, but because it was all you knew. So when healthy love appears, you don't recognize it. And when toxic love appears, you do immediately, effortlessly, like muscle memory. But here's the truth that changes everything. You are not attracting toxic love because you are broken. You are attracting toxic love because you were trained to accept it. And what was trained can be untrained. The moment you stop abandoning yourself to keep someone else, everything changes. The moment you stop explaining your boundaries, everything changes. The moment you stop seeing potential and start seeing reality, everything changes. Because toxic love does not survive in the presence of self-respect. It survives in the presence of self-abandonment. And the more you choose yourself, the more incompatible toxic people become with your life. Not because they disappeared, but because you finally see them clearly for the first time. You were never hard to love. You were just taught to love people who were hard to keep. And that was never your fault. But healing means it doesn't have to be your future.